So let me just remind you of who Kyle Kulinski is. Kyle Kulinski is a guy who sided with Big Pharma during COVID. Kyle Kulinski is a guy who sided with the military-industrial complex during the Ukraine war. Kyle Kulinski is a guy who's turned his back on every principle he ever had when he was a Bernie supporter. He's gone from being a Bernie supporter to a supporter of the military-industrial complex, Big Pharma, and corruption inside the Democratic Party. He's supporting Kamala Harris, who's right now funding and committed to funding the slaughter of the Palestinian people. So there's no red line for him.
Hey everybody, this is Troy over at Uncomfortable Truths. Thanks for checking me out. Now today we have to talk about Secular Talk's Kyle Kulinski because he's just gone off the deep end. He is absolutely losing his mind because a number of people on the left like RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, and to some extent even Jimmy Dore have actually come out and supported Donald Trump, or at least supported many of the positions that he's taken. And this is driving Kyle Kulinski absolutely wild. And he's just saying, well, look, these people aren't really leftists at this point anymore, and we should absolutely disregard their opinions. Well, it is kind of funny because Turncoat Dawn just kind of did a video talking a little bit about how Kyle Kulinski's positions used to be quite a bit different.
So stop overstating how bad Trump is. The country's still going to exist in 4 years. And understating how bad Biden is. Because it's annoying. I just don't agree with the people who are like, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, the country's not going to exist in 4 years. You're hyperbolic and you're ridiculous.
So that was the old school, respectable Kyle Kulinski, who is actually going out and making principled arguments based on facts. But this guy is long gone. Ever since he dyed his hair, the brains in his head have just melted and he just can't keep up anymore. Either that or maybe marrying somebody who's a multi-millionaire has actually changed his perspective a little bit, because now instead of actually making reasonable arguments against Donald Trump and giving him credit when he actually does something right, now he's actually going out there and defending mainstream media.
Meanwhile, mainstream media can get stuff right 84% of the time. Doesn't count. Nobody ever talks about it. Nobody ever gives them credit.
All right. So this is where we're at with this guy now. Kyle Kulinski is now actually defending the establishment media while also endorsing a corporate Democratic candidate for president. And he's attacking people like Tulsi Gabbard, people who have actually stood up and defended our country, because he thinks that it's unfair that Tulsi Gabbard went ahead and endorsed Donald Trump because Donald Trump supports Israel. Well, I don't know where you've been at, Kyle, because just about every other day, you're doing videos talking about how horrible it is that Israel is going and attacking Gaza. Dude, the candidate you're supporting is also in favor of attacking Gaza. She is also in favor of endorsing Israel. So if you're going to talk crap about somebody else supporting a candidate that is in favor of supporting Israel, then you have to admit that your candidate is identical when it comes to that policy. She's at least identical in rhetoric. They're out there shutting down protesters. So I don't want to hear this crap that that's the issue that you're hung up on with Tulsi Gabbard. Just come out and admit it. Just say, look, I like the corporate Democrats. I'm cool with the corporate Democrats. I am a corporate Democrat. And that would be that. But he doesn't leave it there. Instead, he goes and attacks Jimmy Dore, a guy who's on the left, a dude that I don't agree with, but at least he takes a principled position of not being against these things. And Jimmy Dore doesn't let him get away with it.
Flipped, because I'm pretty sure he's got a Democratic donor somewhere who got him, because his channel went dead for 2 years after he lied about me. And now it's zipping right along again. And it's only because he's on the corporate algorithm, because nobody likes that show and nobody watches it, because everybody knows that about him, that he used to say the exact 180-degree different. And now he says, you and I are right wingers for saying the same thing he used to say. And he was telling the truth. He was right back then.
Unfortunately, Jimmy Dore is right. And Kyle Kulinski is no longer the person who actually put policy first. Now he's a guy who, if you don't agree with him, then you're a crazy person and you should be written off and considered a far right winger. Because how could you disagree with Kyle Kulinski?
Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Jimmy Dore, Russell Brand, people like that. You have this, they're so-called anti-establishment folks, but functionally, yet again, they through jujitsu move, turns out we're going to suck off Trump all day and act like he's the lesser evil.
Well, there's a simple explanation for that. And that is that Donald Trump is hands down the lesser of two evils when it comes to Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. It's not even close. Donald Trump is the best president of my lifetime. There's nobody else even in the running. The reason is that Donald Trump, even if you don't like his stance on Israel, in almost every instance, he doesn't want to escalate when it comes to conflict. When it comes to Ukraine, wants a peace deal. Even when it comes to the Israel issue, he talks about the need for having a peace deal. When it comes to talking and actually having discourse with our adversaries to make sure that we don't go into nuclear war like what he did in North Korea, to go actually talk to somebody instead of fighting them or instead of putting sanctions on them, is reason enough to be voting for Donald Trump. And if you actually cared about stopping wars and stopping the military-industrial complex, then he would be the clear candidate, especially over Kamala Harris, who is going out and warmongering every day. So maybe these leftists actually cared about the issue where Kyle Kulinski was literally only pretending. And Jimmy Dore and Matt Taibbi, both people that Kyle Kulinski has attacked, just tear him up. Because what's very clear is Kyle Kulinski just has Trump derangement syndrome. And so sure, maybe these other people have moved further to the right, but that's because that's where the peace movement has gone. They've actually kept their principles and they actually want to see these things come to an end. And all Kyle Kulinski's doing is playing for a team. So they're going to call him out on it.
But there are a lot of people like that who've made some kind of calculation. I think that's the worst species of this kind of person, is not the one who does it for social reasons or because they don't know any better or because they're just basically herd animals by nature, but because they decided something. They sat down and did some kind of math and decided to completely turn their faces inside out. That just drives me nuts.
And it's a really lazy form of smear, right? And Kyle Kulinski used to be the opposite of that. And now he's just as big a shit lib, liar, smear merchant as anybody. And there's no nuance into any of his reporting. It's all Democrats good, Trump bad. He's got Trump derangement syndrome. And he's got the balls to call people like you. You went from Bernie to Trump. He went from Bernie to the military-industrial complex to big pharma to pro-censorship to every bad thing there could be possibly in the world to pro-genocide now. He's gladly, with a smile, going to vote for that.
Once again, Matt Taibbi and Jimmy Dore are 100% correct when it comes to Kyle Kulinski. Because Kyle is just simping for the Democratic establishment at this point. He has almost nothing negative to say about them in comparison to Trump. So the same thing that he's accusing his opponents of doing, of just supporting the right blindly, is exactly what he's doing when it comes to the left. He'll do very tepid criticism, but at the end of the day, if you watch what he's doing, he is definitely trying to get people to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz over Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has demonstrated that he is actually interested in peace. And Kyle's going around smearing these people because they are peace activists and because they don't agree with his assessment on who to vote for. So if you're fine listening to somebody like that and thinking that you're going to be getting honest information, I guess that's on you, but it's probably a losing strategy. So everybody, that's all I've got on this one. Do me a favor and hit like and subscribe. We want to share these uncomfortable truths with as many people as we can. And also go ahead and check out Turncoat Don. We used part of his clip here at the very beginning, but he's got a full video on it in the description below. And it is pretty funny. And you'll actually be able to see a little bit more of Kyle's supposed positions that he had and his current positions. So everyone, that's all I've got for you today. I'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.